Hey there, I'm Bluebear. Thanks for stopping by. This is going to be another Incarnate video. Today we're going to continue that series of walking through all the parts in the game, and we're going to go ahead and look at the common Titan parts. So with that, let's jump into it. All right, so who's ready to talk about the common parts for the Titan? I know I am, so let's get into it. We're going to talk about the mind, body, and soul parts for the Titan. The mind is going to be called here Gore Gorefire, and the ability is attack all enemies in your presence. They gain bleed and burn for 1 turn. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, and it is a void affinity. So just reminding myself here, burn is a stackable debuff, and what happens when you get burn is that you take 5% of your HP at the start of your turn. So you take 5% damage based on your HP at the start of your turn, and it will spread to your allies that are in an AoE of 2 to you, or in the case of an enemy incarnate, to them at the end of their turn. So you take damage at the start of your turn, and you give damage or spread the debuff at the end of your turn. Now, bleed is a debuff that does 50% less attack. So you decrease the attack by 50%, and you take 5% damage based on your HP when you move or attack. So that's actually critical. So the one was based on the start of a turn and the end of a turn, and the other is actually based on if you move while you have that debuff on you. So that's going to be interesting to see if we can actually get those to tick, at least the bleed ability on enemy incarnates, because we're going to have to force them to move. All right, so the body part is called Frenzy, and you gain Surge and Vamp for 3 turns. And the Surge buff, if I look at it right here, is you gain 25% more speed, and you gain movement +1. So your turn meter will get tick faster, and you'll be able to move at least one. You'll be able to move 1 space more than your current move that you have. And the Vamp buff is plus 30% crit damage and plus 30% lifesteal, or 30% lifesteal. So you get more crit damage, which is obviously a good thing. Then more crit damage equals more healing because you get that 30% lifesteal. So that's a pretty cool ability. And we're going to go ahead and get into the soul part as well. And that is called Bore. And Bore lowers the space in front of you by Terra +2. Then you attack enemies in range and you pull them towards you. So this one's actually really interesting, the way the mechanic works, right? So if there's no incarnate in front of you, you're going to lower that space no matter what. But if there's an incarnate in your presence, it will get attacked, and then it will actually pull that incarnate towards you. So remember that the attack piece is going to be based on your range. So you're going to need enemy incarnates to be within a range of 3 to get them to take damage and get pulled towards you. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into a map and look at what each one of these does. So just like in past videos, I'm going to show you how to find these. These are all common parts, and they're all Titan parts. So that's going to be this incarnate right here. So if we select them, you can tell they are a common incarnate by the gray border. And you can tell that it has all Titan parts by the 3 red dots here, signifying Titan parts here. The incarnate itself is a void affinity, and it becomes a void affinity by having 2 or more void affinity parts. So you can see it's got 1 void, 2 void, and 3 void parts. So because it has 2 or more, it turns into a void affinity. All right, let's check out the skills. Okay, we're here. We're going to test out the first ability. We're going to use Gorefire here. Again, attacks all enemies in your presence. So my presence is 3 for this incarnate. So you can see that if I were to count the spaces, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That means I'm going to be able to attack this enemy incarnate with this ability. So here it is showing you the red highlight on those squares, indicating that you're going to be able to attack in that presence. And again, anytime you attack in your presence, it's going to be an AoE type ability. It's not going to be a specific targeted ability for one specific incarnate. So let's go ahead and use it, and we'll see if that debuff gets landed, and then we'll run away. All right, so there's the attack. And if I click on that incarnate, you can see that it has a burn and a bleed. So what we want to actually do to see if that bleed ticks is kind of run away and see if we can get this incarnate to move in order to attack us. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. But you saw that it did do damage, and it did apply these 2 debuffs just like the skill said. So we're going to go ahead and move. We're going to go ahead and try to move as far away as we can to make them come to us. And we'll end our turn. So what we're interested in right now is we want to see if this incarnate here moves to us and actually takes some bleed damage because they moved. We also want to see if they took burn damage at the start of their turn. So we're going to end our turn and wait for that incarnate to move. Okay, so we just saw that incarnate move, and you could see that there was a lot of ticks actually that happened for 188. I think I counted somewhere around 6, and that is because I think he started here. Yeah, I think they started here or here, and they moved 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So that was 4 moves that they went, and it ticked 4 times. Plus the burn was a tick at the start of the turn, and they attacked, so that was another tick for attacking with the bleed. So again, to recap, at the start of their turn, they took the burn damage for 5%. Each space they moved, they took another bleed tick, and when they attacked, they took another bleed tick for a total of 6. So when you see the bleed ability here, it is based on how many squares that incarnate moves. All right, so we just saw the Gorefire work. Now let's go on to our next part and our next ability called Frenzy. So you gain Surge and Vamp for 3 turns. And again, reminding ourselves, Surge is a 25% speed increase. Plus you get a movement increase of 1. So you get to move additional spaces when you actually move your incarnate. And the Vamp is 30% additional crit damage and a 30% lifesteal. So let's go ahead and use it. But what I want to do first is show you that I can only move right now 3 spaces based on my current stats or my current base stats. So I can go 1, 2, 3 spaces, and that shows you the blue piece there, shows you I can move those 3 spaces. Now when I go ahead and use Frenzy, I now get 1 movement and 25% additional speed and the 50% attack, and I heal 25% of the damage you deal. So that's interesting because that's different than what the current buff list is. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the developers about that and see what the real Vamp buff is, and then I will update my spreadsheet on the Google spreadsheet with the information that I have. So let's check out the movement here, and you can see that the movement increased by 1. So I can now go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 spaces. So, and just to make sure it's for 3 turns. So, and the buffs came up for 3 turns. So that works. We're going to go ahead and just move around. Pretty much anywhere, it doesn't really matter, just to show you that we can move those 4 spaces. All right, let's move on to the next skill. All right, so we're ready to test out our last part ability here, and that part ability is going to be on the soul, and that is going to be the boar part. So let's read it. Lower the space in front of you by 2, then attack enemies in your range and pull them towards you. So it's got a few things that we're going to go do here. So this space right in front of me will decrease into by 2 units in the Z direction. So it'll go down 2 spaces. Then any enemy incarnate that is in my range will get attacked by this ability. So again, any incarnate in my range will get attacked by this ability. So anytime you say you see something that says then attack, it's going to be based on your range, not your presence. It's got to be specific in the card that says it's an ability that works off of your presence. So then what it's going to do is actually going to go ahead and pull the incarnates that are in your range towards you as well. So we should see this incarnate get attacked and get pulled towards us. And because it's based on the range, it's got to be in front of us, and we're actually not going to be able to get this incarnate because it's not a presence-based ability. If it were a presence-based ability that had a presence of 3, it would actually go ahead and get out to these spaces out here for this ability. But because it's based on just an attack ability, it's based on that range, and it's only going to hit this incarnate. So let's go ahead and use it and see what it does. All right, so we see, kind of hard to see without really getting in there, but you can see that that space has raised down, decreased by 2. And this incarnate was over here, and it is now pulled over here. And it also took a pretty hefty amount of damage, so that's pretty nice there too. So that's the Boar ability. It's really interesting when you actually pair it up with Eternals and stuff like that, that do other things when you pull your incarnates towards you, but that's just the basic ability for Boar. All right, so it looks like I got an opportunity to actually attack more incarnates with one ability. So we're going to use that Boar ability again and just see what it looks like when you attack multiple incarnates. So I'm going to go ahead and move to this location here and turn myself around. And because I've got that range of 3 and the Boar is based on my range, I should be able to hit 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I should be able to hit all 3 of these incarnates by using that Boar ability. So let's look at it. Yep, there it is. All the red squares are highlighted there, and you can see what you can actually attack. So let's go ahead and use Boar, and let's see if we can kill a couple and pull another one towards us. Nice. So we got 2 of them dead. That one took some damage, and it got pulled in. The space in front of me dropped 2 spaces just like it should. So that's gives you an idea of how powerful that common ability can be when you start grouping other incarnates up. It's a really nice ability, and when you pair it with some Eternals, it actually becomes pretty fun to play with. All right, so that's going to do it for this one. We saw that a couple buffs didn't match my current spreadsheet, so I'm going to go ahead and figure those out and get back to you guys. But I hope you liked the video. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe. Toss a comment down below. Let me know if you think these abilities are pretty cool and what you think they might be able to pair with if you have access to the alpha. We'll be doing more of these videos again to go through each one of the parts, and my hope is to get them out to you guys before the beta starts. That way any new beta players that are coming in have a resource to come and look at to see what these parts do. So with that, again, hope you enjoyed and have a great day.